at an abandoned space station that circled the dying Earth. The once bright blue planet was now covered with scars, smoke, and silence. He was not completely alone. There were still men on the surface, broken and scattered, but for him, the silence of space was easier than the silence of empty cities. Every day he woke up to the same routine. He checked the station systems, cleaned the solar panels, and recorded his thoughts into an old computer. His voice echoed in the hollow metal halls. He spoke not for himself, but for the future, in case anyone ever found his records. But deep down, he never believed anyone would. When Elias looked at the stars, he remembered the stories his mother told him. Stories about laughter, about mothers and daughters, about balance between men and women. But now those memories felt like dreams slipping away. 20 years without a woman had changed men into shadows of themselves. Wars had ended, but so had families. There was no future, only survival. Sometimes he heard voices in his dreams, soft voices, female voices, whispering to him. When he woke, the silence of the station crushed him again. He once tried to record the sound of those dreams, but all he got was static. He told himself he was going crazy. Maybe he was. One night, as he floated near the observation deck, he saw the Earth turn slowly under him. Lights of old cities flickered faintly like dying candles. He closed his eyes and whispered, "What are we now without them?" His words drifted into the silence, and for the first time, he wished someone, anyone, would answer. Then it happened. A sound, weak but clear, cut through the static of the old radio system. At first, Elias thought it was another dream, but the sound grew sharper, and then he heard it. A woman's voice, soft, calm, and filled with something he had not heard in 20 years. Certainty. "You know what to do, human." Elias froze. His heart pounded in his chest. The voice repeated. Exactly the same words, exactly the same tone. He felt the air grow heavy around him. His hand shook as he adjusted the old radio dial. The voice kept coming, like a ghost speaking across time. "You know what to do, human," he whispered back. "Who are you?" No answer came, only the same phrase again. His eyes widened. This was not static, not a dream. This was real. He replayed the signal again and again. Every time, the same female voice. Every syllable carried weight, like it was meant only for him. But what did it mean? What was he supposed to do? For the first time in years, Elias felt alive. He searched the computers, checked the frequency, calculated the direction. The signal was not random. It came from deep space, far beyond the orbit of Earth. Someone, or something, was calling him. He remembered the last day he saw a woman. She was a scientist running into the bunker as alien ships darkened the sky. She shouted at him to escape. Then the bunker collapsed, and she was gone. Since that day, silence had been his only companion. Until now, the voice did not change. It spoke like a command, like a code written into the stars. "You know what to do, human." Each word pierced him, filled him with both fear and hope. He stared out the window of the station. The stars no longer looked distant. They looked alive, like they were watching him. He realized the silence of 20 years was broken. The question now was, should he answer? Elias could feel his blood rushing. If this voice was real, then humanity still had a chance. If this voice was not real, then he was already lost. But deep inside, a spark lit up. It was small, but strong, the kind of spark that could change everything. He turned on the navigation system. The station's engines had not been used in years. They coughed, groaned, and trembled. Still, they responded. The coordinates were set toward the direction of the signal. He strapped himself in and whispered to the empty station, "All right, I'll do it." The engines roared, and the old station began to move. Elias did not know if he was chasing a ghost, an enemy, or a miracle. But he knew one thing. After 20 years of silence, he finally had something worth chasing. And far away, hidden in the darkness, the female voice whispered one last time, You know what to do, human. Elias stared at the screen as the signal repeated again. The woman's voice echoed through the station, steady, calm, and unchanging. You know what to do, human. The same words again and again. But now Elias was sure. This was not random, not static, not a dream. He sat in the control chair, his fingers shaking as he wrote down numbers. The signal had a pattern. It came every 60 seconds, always the same delay. Each word carried a strange vibration, almost like it was more than sound, almost like it was hiding a code. Elias played the voice over and over. The longer he listened, the more details he noticed. Her voice had strength, but also sorrow. It was human. He could feel it. No machine could create such tone, such weight, and yet he wondered, how could a woman still be alive after 20 years? The signal came from deep space, far from Earth. He calculated the direction. It pointed toward the ruins of an alien battlefield. That area had been silent for years. No ships, no humans, nothing. Why was the voice calling from there? Elias activated the long-range scanner. The screen showed only darkness, broken ships, and floating debris. But hidden in that silence was the voice. Each time it spoke, he felt something inside him stir. Hope, fear, and a strange sense of destiny. He whispered, "Who are you? Why me?" The radio hissed, then answered with the same words. "You know what to do, human." It was like speaking to a wall, yet the wall was alive. Each answer was the same, but it pushed him forward. He remembered the men on Earth. They had given up years ago. Some fought like savages. Others just waited for death. No one believed women would ever return. No one believed the human race had a future. But here, in the cold of space, Elias heard the impossible, a woman's voice. The engines of the station groaned as he turned the ship toward the signal. For years he had floated like a ghost, circling Earth. Now he had a direction, a purpose. The sound of the engines was like a heartbeat returning after long silence. It made him feel alive again. As the station moved closer, the signal grew stronger, but with it came something else. Strange whispers in the background, too faint to understand. It sounded like other voices hiding behind hers. Were they real, or just tricks of the radio? Elias could not tell. Days passed as he drifted through space. He barely ate, barely slept. He only listened, recorded, and searched for meaning. Sometimes the voice sounded closer, almost inside his head. Sometimes it faded until he thought it was gone forever. But always it returned, always the same line. You know what to do, human. One night, as he drifted near the wreckage of an alien warship, the voice changed, not in words but in tone. The phrase was the same, but now it carried urgency, like she was warning him, like time was running out. He froze, his hands gripping the console. This was no machine, no simple signal. This was alive. He activated the emergency beacon, trying to send his own signal back. His voice cracked as he shouted, "Where are you? Tell me what to do." The static swallowed his words. No reply came, only her line again. You know what to do, human. Elias felt madness creeping in. Was this real? Or was he falling into the same trap that broke other men? But deep in his chest he knew this was real. Something out there wanted him to follow. He searched the wreckage carefully. The scanner showed energy pulses, faint but consistent. Hidden inside one of the alien warships was the origin of the signal, a derelict vessel, dark, ancient, but still alive. The woman's voice came from its heart. But why would her voice come from an alien ship? Elias prepared his shuttle. He had not left the station in years. The small craft shook as it detached. The alien wreck loomed before him, silent and cold. Its hull was torn, its bones floating in space like a dead beast. But from within, the voice whispered again, "You know what to do, human." He landed on the cracked surface. The airlock doors creaked as he forced them open. The inside was dark, lit only by the dim glow of alien machines. Every step echoed in the hollow corridors. The air was stale, heavy with dust and death. Yet the voice was louder here, closer. It almost felt like she was standing just around the corner. Elias followed the sound deeper into the ship. The corridors twisted like a maze. Alien symbols glowed, faintly on the walls. Strange machines hummed with weak energy. Then he reached a chamber vast and round. In the center stood a glowing crystal device. The woman's voice came directly from it, her tone clear, sharp, undeniable. "You know what to do, human." Elias stepped closer, his breath shallow. The device pulsed like a beating heart. The voice filled the room, filled his mind. For 20 years, he had waited for this moment. For 20 years, he had lived in silence. And now, in the ruins of an alien ship, he heard the impossible. He whispered, "If you are real, show me. Please, show me." The crystal glowed brighter. The voice echoed once more. "You know what to do, human." And for the first time, Elias believed. The alien ship was silent after the last echo of the woman's voice. Elias stood in the glowing chamber staring at the crystal, his heart beat fast, his breathing sharp. He had come closer than anyone in 20 years to hearing a woman again. But still, he had no answers, only the same line. "You know what to do, human." He touched the crystal, its surface cold but alive. It pulsed faintly under his fingers, sending a soft vibration into his skin. For a moment he thought he saw her face inside the light. A flash, a silhouette. Then nothing. He pulled his hand back, shivering. Whatever this was, it was leading him somewhere, and he had no choice but to follow. Elias returned to his shuttle. The alien wreck faded into the darkness behind him, but the signal did not stop. Now it carried coordinates, numbers hidden between the words. Every time the voice said the line, the numbers shifted slightly. He wrote them down one by one, until he realized it was guiding him across space. The journey began. He left behind the orbit of Earth, left behind the comfort of his broken station. Now it was only him, his small shuttle, and the endless dark. The stars looked colder here, distant and sharp. Silence pressed against the walls, broken only by the steady hum of the engine. As he followed the path, he passed through ruined colonies, once proud human settlements, now nothing but broken glass domes and lifeless streets. He saw ships floating like coffins, their hulls torn apart. He saw skeletons of cities, machines rusting in the dust. Every stop reminded him of what was lost. And yet, through it all, the voice guided him. "You know what to do, human." One night he landed on a forgotten mining station. The place was empty, only shadows and silence. But inside the control room, he found strange carvings on the walls. Not human, not alien, something in between. The carvings showed figures, tall and slender, surrounding a woman. Her face was hidden, but her eyes glowed, and above her head were the same words burned into the metal. "You know what to do, human." Elias stepped back, his chest tight. This was no accident, no random signal. Someone had planned this. Someone wanted him here. The woman's voice was not just a call, it was a trail, and he was walking straight into it. Days turned into weeks. His food grew low, his body grew weaker. But still he followed. Sometimes he thought he saw figures outside the window, moving in the darkness of space, shadows of ships that vanished when he blinked. Other times he heard whispers behind the main voice, whispers like a crowd speaking just out of reach. They filled him with fear, but also with a strange comfort, because at least he was not alone. One night the whispers grew louder. The woman's voice broke for the first time, her words stretched, her tone cracked. "You know what to do, human." The crystal-clear command sounded almost desperate now. Elias leaned forward, whispering back, "Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are." But the radio only hissed. The next coordinates took him to the ruins of an old alien fortress. Its walls were black stone, its towers shattered. Inside he found bodies, not human, not alien, something else. Tall beings with twisted metal growing from their bones. On the ground he found a broken tablet. When he touched it, a projection lit up the room. The same woman's face appeared in flickering light. Her lips moved, but the sound was only static. Then slowly the same line appeared across the screen in glowing letters. You know what to do, human. Elias fell to his knees. Tears filled his eyes. Not from sorrow, but from the crushing weight of the mystery. Why him? Why now? What was this woman? A survivor? A ghost? Or something more? The galaxy was dead, yet her voice cut through like a blade. He realized this was not just survival anymore. This was destiny pulling him forward. The final set of coordinates burned onto his screen. They pointed beyond the mapped stars, into a region known as the Void, a place no ship returned from. Legend said it was a graveyard of light. But now it was his path, and the woman's voice repeated again, calm, steady, certain. You know what to do, human. Elias strapped himself into the shuttle. He closed his eyes and whispered, if this is a trap, I'll die chasing it, but if it's real, then maybe humanity still has a chance. The engines roared, pushing him toward the unknown. The stars grew fewer as the darkness thickened. He gripped the controls tight. Fear and hope fought inside him. But he could not turn back. Not now. Not after 20 years of silence. As he entered the edge of the void, the signal grew louder. The woman's voice filled the cabin, not just from the radio, but inside his head, clearer than ever before. You know what to do, human. And Elias whispered back with a trembling smile, then show me. The void was darker than Elias imagined. It was not just empty space. It was a silence that pressed against his skin. The stars behind him faded, swallowed by endless black. Only his shuttle's faint lights kept him from feeling like he was falling into nothing. For days he drifted, guided only by the voice. It never changed, never gave more. You know what to do, human. Those words became his heartbeat, his compass, his reason to breathe. Every time he thought of giving up, the voice pulled him forward again. Then the darkness broke. Ahead of him glowed a faint light, pale and golden. It shimmered like a candle in endless night. As he drew closer, he realized it was not a star but a station, massive, ancient, shaped like a ring, alien designs twisted across its surface. Yet hidden among them were human symbols, familiar curves, letters, signs that should not be here. Elias's breath caught. How could humans mark this place when no one had returned from the void? The shuttle docked slowly, metal scraping against the old locks. When the door opened, stale air rushed inside. It carried the smell of dust, oil, and something faintly sweet, something almost human. The corridors were not like the alien ruins he had seen before. They were clean, structured, and mixed. Part alien, part human. It was as if two worlds had built this place together. Elias's footsteps echoed softly as he moved deeper inside. And then he heard it. Not just through the radio, but with his ears. The woman's voice filled the hallway, clear and close. You know what to do, human. He followed the sound, his hand shaking as he held his torch. The walls glowed faintly with symbols that shifted as he passed. At last, the corridor opened into a vast chamber, and in the center was a single cryogenic pod. Frost clung to the glass, and inside lay a figure, a woman. Elias's knees grew weak. He pressed his hand against the glass. Her hair floated gently inside the fluid, her skin pale but alive. Her chest rose and fell slowly, proof she was breathing. For 20 years he had not seen such a sight. For 20 years he thought it was impossible. Yet here she was. The voice spoke again, this time not from the radio. It came from the pod itself. You know what to do, human, Elias whispered. Who are you? Why are you here? The pod lights flickered and the woman's eyes opened. They glowed faintly with golden light, not fully human, not fully alien. And she spoke softly, her lips moving with the words, You know what to do, human. Fear and wonder battled. Inside him, this was no recording, no illusion. She was alive and she was speaking directly to him. But why only those words? Why nothing more? He looked closer and noticed wires, alien cables running into her body. Machines pulsed around her, feeding her, controlling her. She was not only a woman, She was something new, a bridge between human and alien. Elias staggered back, his thoughts racing. Was she the last woman alive, or was she something else? Created, changed, prepared for a purpose? The words she repeated were not empty. They were an instruction. But what was he supposed to do? He searched the chamber. Along the walls were panels covered in both human language and alien script. The carvings showed a story, humans and aliens fighting, destroying, burning worlds. Then one image showed women being taken, removed from the cycle of life. The final image showed a single woman connected to a great machine, her hands outstretched, light spreading from her chest. And beneath the image, the words in human language. She will return when the chosen one arrives. Elias touched the carving, his heart pounding. Chosen one? Was that him? Had this entire path been prepared for him? Or was he just another pawn in a larger game? The woman's voice broke his thoughts. Her tone grew softer now, almost human, almost pleading. You know what to do, human. He returned to the pod, staring into her glowing eyes. She blinked slowly, as if struggling to speak more. Her hand twitched inside the glass, pressing against his. The cables hummed louder, and suddenly visions filled his mind. Flashes of alien battles, human cities falling. The moment women were taken away, sealed in darkness. And then the vision of a machine, a great device hidden deep within this station. He saw her connected to it, her body glowing like a star. Her voice whispered inside his head. If you free me, I will free humanity. Elias gasped, falling to his knees. Now he understood. This woman was not just a survivor, she was the key. But freeing her meant something else. The machines that kept her alive were also chains. If he cut them, she would awaken. But the balance of alien power would collapse. The galaxy itself might burn. He looked at her, at the last woman he might ever see. Her lips moved once more, whispering the line that had carried him through the void. You know what to do, human. This time it did not feel like a command. It felt like a plea. Elias's hands shook as he reached for the controls. One decision stood before him. To free her and risk everything, or leave her and let the silence continue. The future of humanity, and perhaps the universe, waited in his hands, and as the chamber lights flickered, he whispered back, I think I finally do. The chamber was silent, except for the steady hum of the machines. Elias stood before the pod, his reflection shimmering against the frosted glass. Inside, the woman's eyes glowed softly, golden and alive. Her lips had spoken the same line so many times, but now, Elias felt there was more hidden behind those words. There was truth waiting to be uncovered. He placed his hand on the controls, unsure if touching them would save her or kill her. The alien wires pulsed like veins, feeding both power and prison into her body. Her hand pressed against the glass again, weak but deliberate. And then for the first time her voice shifted, still soft, still broken, but carrying new words. Help me, human. Elias's chest tightened. His throat went dry. She was real, and she could speak more than the phrase that haunted him. Her eyes blinked slowly, heavy with years of sleep. She whispered again, her voice echoing through the chamber. They took us, all women, hidden. One must remain, one must awaken. Elias trembled, his mind racing. The carvings on the wall, the visions he saw, the endless voice guiding him here. It all connected now. She was the last woman, the last hope. And she had been locked away. In this alien machine for 20 long years, he asked, Why you? Why only one? Her voice wavered but remained strong enough to answer. The aliens feared human balance, human growth. So they destroyed, removed women, stopped life, stopped hope. She coughed softly, her glow flickering. But they kept me, because they needed me. Elias's stomach turned. He had seen the ruins, the broken colonies, the empty faces of men who had lost everything. But hearing it from her, Seeing her trapped inside a prison of wires made the pain sharper. The aliens had not only ended lives, they had stolen the future, and now the future was staring back at him. She continued, her voice gaining strength with each word. They wanted to use me, to build their control, to shape new life under their rule. Her eyes grew brighter, and for a moment Elias thought he saw fire inside them. But I waited. I resisted. I sent the signal. I called you. Elias's breath caught. All those years of silence, all those days of loneliness. It was her voice that kept him alive. She had chosen him. You know what to do, human, she whispered again, but this time her voice carried meaning. This time Elias understood. He turned toward the control panels, strange alien symbols mixed with human words. It was like two languages stitched into one. He placed his hands on the interface, and the machine responded, glowing softly. A map appeared before him, projected into the air. It showed stars, systems, and hidden chambers across the galaxy, each marked with the same symbol. A circle of light. These, she said weakly, are vault, where women were taken, hidden, locked, waiting. Her words struck him like thunder. There were more, not just her. She was the first, the seed, the key. But there were others waiting to be freed. And only she could guide the way, Elias whispered. You want me to help you free them? She nodded faintly, her golden eyes never leaving his. Yes, human, this is the mission, your mission. Free me, and I will show you how to bring them back. The weight of her words pressed against him. The hope of humanity, the return of women, the rebirth of life. It was possible, but it all depended on him, on one decision, one risk, one act of faith. But she also warned him, her voice trembling with fear. They will come, the ones who guard the void, the ones who erased us. They will not let this happen. The chamber lights flickered as if her words summoned them. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. This mission was not only about saving her, it was about fighting an enemy far stronger than him. He turned back to the pod, staring at her fragile body trapped in wires. If he disconnected her, she might die. If he left her, the human race might never return. The decision cut into him like a blade. But when she whispered again, her voice softer than ever, "You know what to do, human." He finally understood the weight of those words. Elias placed his hands on the main controls. The machine hissed. As alarms began to echo through the chamber, the cables tightened, resisting like living snakes. He gritted his teeth and pulled the first lever. Sparks flew, the wires shook violently. The woman cried out, her body trembling inside the pod. But she did not beg him to stop. Her glowing eyes met his, steady and unbroken. One by one, Elias pulled the cables free. Each one screamed with sparks and smoke. The alien systems fought back, locking doors, sending shadows across the walls. But Elias refused to let go. This was the mission, this was the truth, and he would not fail. Finally, with one last pull, the main wire snapped. The machines went dark. The pod hissed open. Cold air rushed into the chamber, carrying a sharp metallic taste. The woman gasped, her lungs filling with true air for the first time in decades. Her body fell forward, weak, trembling, but alive. Elias caught her in his arms. Her warmth was faint, fragile, but it was real. And in that moment he felt the weight of 20 years lift from his shoulders. She leaned close, her voice faint but filled with fire. Now, human, now we begin. The chamber shook as the last cable snapped free. The woman collapsed against Elias, her body trembling like a candle flame in the wind. Her golden eyes flickered weakly, but her breath was steady. For the first time in 20 years, Elias held a living woman in his arms. Not a memory, not a dream, but real, warm, fragile, alive. But freedom came with a cost. The alien machines screamed as if the station itself had been wounded. Alarms rang through the corridors. Sharp and furious red lights flooded the walls, and heavy doors slammed shut one by one. The guardians of the void had awakened. The woman clutched Elias's arm, her voice soft but urgent. They know, human. They will come. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from the strain of waking. After decades in the machine, still her gaze was strong, her will unbroken. We must reach the core, we must finish this. Elias lifted her carefully, her weight light in his arms. Every step toward the exit echoed like a drumbeat of fate. Behind them, shadows moved in the hallways. Figures of light and steel, alien machines shaped like hunters, their heads twisted, their arms sharp as blades. They did not walk, they glided silently, their eyes burning red. The woman pressed her hand to the wall, symbols glowed where her fingers touched. Hidden doors opened, secret passages revealed. She whispered, "I was their prisoner, but I also learned their paths." Her voice guided Elias through the maze of corridors. But the hunters followed, always close, always silent. At last they reached the heart of the station, a vast chamber filled with a colossal machine. Its core glowed with blinding light. It pulsed like a star trapped inside metal. This was the rebirth engine, the device she had shown him in visions. Here, humanity's future could begin again. Elias set her down gently. Her legs were weak, but she stood with fierce determination. "This is the choice," she whispered, her voice trembling but clear. "If we activate it, humanity will rise again. Women will return from the vaults." Her eyes burned like suns as she looked at him. "But the machine needs power, it needs life." Elias's heart sank. He already knew what she meant. One life must be given to fuel the core, one sacrifice to awaken the future, and she looked at him as if he was the only one who could do it. He clenched his fists, his voice raw. "Why me? Why not you?" The woman shook her head slowly, her golden hair catching the light. "My body is the key, I must guide the rebirth, but you, human, you are the spark. Your life can light the fire, or your choice can end it forever." The hunters burst into the chamber, their forms glowing like fire. Elias turned, ready to fight. But the woman raised her hand, and the walls lit with barriers of light. The hunters slammed against them, their claws scraping, their voices shrieking. The shield would not hold for long, time was running out. Elias's mind raced. He had survived 20 years alone. He had dreamed of this moment, dreamed of seeing a woman again. Now she stood before him, asking for his life to bring back hers, to bring back all of them. His chest burned with the weight of it. Was this the end of Elias, or the beginning of something greater? The woman stepped closer, her hand resting on his chest. Her touch was warm, real, human. "Your sacrifice will not be in vain," she whispered. "You will be remembered in every voice, in every child, in every future that comes, but if you cannot, then humanity will fade forever." The hunters roared, the barriers cracked. Elias looked into her golden eyes, and he saw not just her. He saw Earth. He saw the ruins of cities, the lonely men, the dead colonies. He saw the faces of mothers, sisters, daughters who were no longer there, and he saw himself, a lonely man who had carried silence for too long. He placed his hand on the machine's core. It pulsed under his skin, hungry, alive. He turned to her, his voice steady for the first time. "Promise me, if I do this, you will lead them back. You will not let my life be wasted." She nodded, her eyes wet with light. "I swear, human, I will bring them back. I will carry you with me in every step." The hunters broke through, the chamber filled with fire and chaos. Elias shouted, his voice echoing across the chamber. "Then this is my choice." He pressed his hand deeper, into the core. Light surged through his body. Fire burned his veins. Pain ripped through him, but he did not pull back. The machine roared like a storm, consuming his strength. His vision blurred, but he saw the woman glow brighter, her body rising with power. She spread her arms, her voice booming across the chamber. "Humanity, awaken." The hunters disintegrated in the blast of light. The station trembled. The void itself shook. Elias fell to his knees, his body fading. But a smile touched his lips. For 20 years, he had carried silence. Now his voice was part of the future. The last thing he heard was her whisper, soft and eternal. "You chose well, human." The light filled everything. It swallowed the chamber, the hunters, the walls, and even the void outside. Elias felt himself breaking apart, yet also becoming whole. Every memory, every scar, every lonely year melted into the brightness. For the first time in 20 years, there was no silence. There was song. The woman stood at the heart of the storm, her body glowing like a living sun. Golden light poured from her skin, rising like waves into the machine. The ancient rebirth engine drank the energy, pulsing brighter with each beat. Elias collapsed, his strength fading, his body turning weightless. But as his vision blurred, he saw her smile. A real smile, warm and human. Rest, human. She whispered, her voice soft as a promise. "You have done what none could do." The machine roared, and then the walls opened. From the core of the station, great beams of light shot outward. They cut through the void, reaching across dead galaxies. The beams found hidden vaults scattered among the stars. One by one they opened. Inside those vaults, women stirred. Their eyes opened after decades of slumber. Their voices, weak but alive, echoed into the universe. The silence of 20 years cracked, replaced by the sound of return. Elias saw it, even in his fading state. Through the light he glimpsed them. Hundreds, thousands, mothers, daughters, sisters, leaders, scientists, soldiers, all awakening, all stepping back into life. Tears filled his eyes, not of sorrow but of joy. Humanity was no longer broken. The woman's body shone brighter, her golden eyes burning like stars. She spread her arms wide, and her voice carried across every vault, every ship, every ruined colony. "Rise, humanity. Your silence has ended. Your future begins anew." Her words carried both power and tenderness. They were not just a command. They were a promise. Elias felt the last of his strength slip away. He fell to the floor, his hand still pressed faintly against the machine. He thought this was the end. But instead of darkness, he found himself in a place of light, a vision, clear and endless. He stood in a field of stars. The woman appeared before him, no longer trapped, no longer weak. She stood tall, her golden light wrapped in human form. "You gave yourself for them," she said gently, "and now you will live in them." Elias frowned, his voice soft. "Live in them, what do you mean?" She smiled, a smile filled with both sorrow and hope. "Your essence, your sacrifice. It powers the rebirth. You will not vanish, human. You will become part of every voice. Every heartbeat that follows will carry a piece of you." Elias's chest ached, not with pain, but with wonder. He thought he had ended, but instead, he had become eternal. Not in stone, not in stories, but in blood, in life, in future. For a man who had lived 20 years in silence, it was more than he ever dreamed. The vision faded, and the woman's face was the last thing he saw, her lips whispering the words that had guided him across the void. "You knew what to do, human." The chamber calmed, the storm passed, the hunters were gone, their bodies turned to ash. The station no longer trembled. Instead, it pulsed with quiet life. The woman stepped from the core, her body still glowing but softer now. She knelt beside Elias's still form, her eyes wet with light. "Sleep, brave one," she whispered, placing her hand over his heart. "Your choice has brought us back, and we will not forget." Beyond the station, across the stars, humanity stirred. The long silence ended. Men lifted their heads, hearing voices they thought were lost forever. The first laughter in decades echoed through ruined cities. Children yet unborn waited in the glow of tomorrow, and humanity's story began again. The woman rose, her golden eyes fixed on the stars. She was no longer prisoner, no longer just a survivor. She was the guide, the leader, the bridge. And she carried Elias within her, his sacrifice burning as a light no void could ever swallow, whispered into the silence of space, not to him, not to herself, but to all of humanity. We begin again, stronger together, and somewhere, in the heartbeat of every voice that rose across the stars, Elias lived on, the man who walked 20 years in silence, the man who followed the voice, the man who chose to give everything so humanity could see the last light.